Hello, I'm Frank Hanaway and welcome to Big Journey, Small Steps, the channel where I talk about my path to self-awareness and the small steps I'm taking to get there. Well, this has been a heck of a holiday season, let me just tell you that. Wow. And I'm on the bottom of the roller coaster right now, and I can really see how it's better to live like this than it is to go like this all the time. But anyway, I thought I would tell you a wonderful story, a true story. When I used to live in Atlanta, my partner at the time, who we were together 17 years, he was from another town out in the middle part of Tampa where they mine phosphate, which means it's a hellhole on earth. And I'm from a little town outside of Tampa, and we would both come to see our families, and we'd spend some time together, but we'd come, our huge families were here, so we'd come down. And so I think this one year, in the early 90s, he came down before me. I think he drove down before for some reason. I needed to stay and work longer or something, who knows. And he came down and he called me on the phone and he said, "You will not believe what I have found, but in Frog Holler," which is next to Mulberry, where he's from, which Frog Holler is basically a trailer park, but that's not the name of the trailer park, that's the name of the town. It just happens to be a town of trailers, all on little oyster shell roads. So he found this thing called Mr. Christmas Tree Man. And he said, "When you get here, you have got to see it, oh my Lord." And I'm like, okay, I'll come. And it was a ways from here. So he and I went together, and it was stunning, just stunning. And then I took my mother and my father, and I took a friend, and we went back and saw Mr. Christmas Tree Man. Well, let me tell you about Mr. Christmas Tree Man. So in Frog Holler by Mulberry, which Mulberry is already hardly on the map, and Frog Holler, I don't know, if you spilled a drop of milk on the map, it'd be gone. So we go to Frog Holler, and it wasn't hard to find Mr. Christmas Tree Man because his double wide was illuminated to the point that it could be viewed from other planets in our galaxy, not even in our solar system. And he had gone to all this work, and it had spilled over to the next trailer, and it was obvious, so it was all one display. And he'd cut out Disney characters, and he'd cut out Rudolph, and he had plywood cutouts that were painted all covered with lights, and everything covered in lights. Okay, you say, there's a lot of that going on at Christmas time. Yes, there is, but let me just tell you what Mr. Christmas Tree Man did to up the ante. Mr. Christmas Tree Man covered himself from the top of his little hat all the way to the bottom of his feet in Christmas lights. Now, this was before LED lights. These were real lights, which must have been really hot. I think they were like twinkle lights, fairy lights, or whatever we call them now, but they were small, but he was covered with them. It must have been hot as the devil. And he did the same thing to his wife. So she had on like this big skirt and all covered with lights. And he plugged into 220 volts because he had to have this special electrical outlet put in just so he could light himself up. And as you're standing there talking to Mr. Christmas Tree Man, you're thinking he's going up any second because it didn't seem safe, especially since one of the times I went to see him, it was drizzling rain and he was plugged into 220. So why did this come back to me this year? Well, he did that because his mom was suffering from Alzheimer's, and he lived with his wife and his mother in this double wide, and his mother loved the lights. So he so much out of love that he just got all carried away and lit it up. It was on the news, it was on everything. The next year her condition worsened and they moved somewhere and they didn't do that anymore, but it was just spectacular. And when I took my mother to see him, she grilled him like she was there from the FBI. Like, where did you get this? Why did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. So I learned this stuff. I probably would have just, but it was very sweet and funny and special. It had that touch of unbelievable Americana. It was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, I got to tell you one more thing and then I'll let you go. Okay, so after you drove past everyone see Mr. Christmas Tree Man, you had to get out of the car and talk to Mr. Christmas Tree Man. He was plugged into 220. He was probably what's the name of that system they have to talk to other planets? It might have been Mr. Christmas Tree Man. So you drive past, you go all the way to the end of the Oyster Shell Road. We used to have a lot of those in Florida, not so many anymore. And you go to the end and you turn right, and the trailer, right as you turn right, in the front yard had 5 commodes. Now commodes are what we call toilets in the South. Had 5 commodes that were planted with geraniums. I don't know, it was a honey boo boo moment, except it was just so sweet that he had gone to all this trouble for his mother and that these people were decorating their lives, and it makes me smile to think about it. Well, that's all the time I have for you today. I appreciate you spending time with me. From the bottom of my heart, as I always do, I wish you peace and joy.